What up, fight fans? It is Saturday, June 13th. We just saw the ending of UFC on ESPN 10. So now it's time for the Iman Report. In the main event tonight, Cynthia Calvillo beats Jessica, the number one flyweight contender, in her first fight at women's 125, gets a unanimous decision over Jessica I for Cynthia Calvillo. 49-46, 49-46, and 48-47. Welcome to the women's 125 division. Tonight's fight card, out of a 10, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say it's about a 4 or 3. A lot of the fights in the prelims were snoozers. A lot of first round knockouts. The fights got a little bit better. It was just, to me, it was just this one was a little bit more of a pedestrian fight card. But for Jessica I, there's no. But for Cynthia Calvillo, she had her struggles in the first round. Then she got her confidence in the second round, and she was able to control Jessica I on the ground, and she didn't look back from there. She didn't look back from there and pretty much dominated I on the ground. So for Calvillo, she got called out on Twitter by Caitlin Chikagian. I'm not opposed to that. I am totally not opposed to that. You don't want to throw her to. You certainly don't want to throw her to Valentina Shevchenko right away. So yeah, I totally would not be opposed to see that. Question is, who would Valentina Shevchenko fight? She's fought 1 and 2. And probably as of next week, Calvillo will probably be the new number 1 contender at women's flyweight. So that, let's see, who else has Valentina Shevchenko not fought at 125 yet? Okay, she is going to probably fight Joanne Calderwood sometime this fall. She was slated to fight Calderwood next month. Then she hurt her leg. Who knows how long Calderwood will be out. And also, ironically, Cynthia Calvillo has a win over Joanne Calderwood. So she comes into a division where she's beaten 1, 2, and 3. I mean, 1 and 3. She hasn't fought number 2 yet, but I think that is logistically the best fight to make for Calvillo. Would be a Calvillo Chookagian fight. Would be a good 5-round card on a fight night card. But Calvillo just looked a lot better at 125 tonight. So yeah, I think we see a date with. I think for Calvillo, a day. Hopefully she obliges to fight Caitlin Chikagian. That would be an excellent. That would definitely be an excellent main event to a fight night card. As for Jessica I, she'll fall a bit, but she's fought, I think, a lot of the top 10 in the women's 125 division too. So she is probably going to take a little bit of a step down in her next fight. Has she fought Jennifer Maya? You could also put her against the loser of Roxanne Modafferi and Lauren Murphy. That's a plausible matchup. But I want to see who. Let me check if they fought before I say book it. So that way I don't put a duplicate out here. She's fought Arau, Chikagian. No, okay, they haven't fought each other, so that would be a fresh matchup. I think Jennifer Maya might be, or has she fought Liz Carmouche? No, that I think that could also be a fight to make there. I think I will in that one. That might be a good fight night main event too, or good on a mid card would be Liz Carmouche and Jessica I. That would Maya. I think the Jennifer Maya. I think I versus Carmouche or Jennifer Maya, but I'm leaning towards Liz Carmouche. They have surprisingly they've never fought each other in the UFC, so I think that would be a really good, exciting fight there. They're right near each other in the rankings. That might be enough of a step down there. I think I will go with that for Jessica I. She won't fall too much. There's no shame in losing to Calvillo, and Calvillo is already looking like a bona fide contender in the women's 125 division. But let's get her some confidence first before feeding her to Valentina Shevchenko. In the co-main event before that, Marvin Vettori submits Carl Roberson, who misses weight by about 5 pounds. Marvin Vettori and Carl Roberson certainly had some beef, and Vettori sent a statement win tonight. He now could be on the edge of the top 15 after tonight's win. So I do think he will get someone. I think for Vettori, he is starting to turn into a contender in the 185 division and possibly the first contender coming out of the country of Italy. So Vettori definitely fighting for Italy. There's not a lot of Italian fighters in the UFC. And certainly, I do think maybe someone in the top 15 or someone in the edge of the top 15 is what should be next for Marvin Vettori. And his grappling game was just lethal tonight. He just settled the beef and got it done and submitted Carl Roberson. I think a possible fight for him could be you could give him the winner of Brendan Allen versus Ian Heinisch. Heinisch is ranked. Brendan Allen, I think, is like right outside the rankings. That is one possibility you can make for Vettori. I think another one which might make a bit more sense, and this could be a good grappling match here, could be Marvin Vettori versus Krzysztof Jotko. That would put two elite grapplers against each other. I think Jotko is like right outside on the edge of the top 15 too. And I think that would be a really fun fight. See Jotko fight. Yeah, I think Jotko versus. And I think that makes a more sense. I think I'd go Vettori versus Jotko on Fight Island. That would be a good elite grappling match. It could the grappling could cancel each other out in that fight. Could force both fighters to stand. But Vettori makes a statement win tonight. He could get 50 Gs for submission of the night. That is definitely a candidate for submission of the night. And we'll see if he gets a number right next to his name come Monday. Vettori has vaulted himself into the contender role. For Carl Roberson, he's still a raw fighter in a sense. I think he'll be back. He'll be a contender one day, but not just quite yet. Roberson just lost to a more experienced fighter in Vettori. But there's certainly going to be some better days for Roberson. He's got to get the weight cutting mastered a little bit better. He did miss weight by about 5 pounds tonight. But maybe Gerald Mearshire would be a... I wonder if those two have fought yet or not. No, they've not. So, I think a slight step down in Gerald Mearshart would be what's next for Carl Roberson. Another experienced fighter for him. So this could be a good what did you learn from the last fight type of fight for Carl Roberson. In the lightweight fight before that, Charles Rosa beats Kevin Aguilar via split decision, 29-28, 29-28, and then the other judge had it 29-28 for Kevin Aguilar. That fight, it had its moments, not the most exciting fight, so. But Charles Rosa is what Charles Rosa is. He is I will say he is a mid-level gatekeeper at best. But I will say Rosa did look a little better at 155 tonight. Does he stick around at 155? That remains to be seen. Good, I think, for Charles Rosa. Give him Joe Lozon. See what happens there. Probably just a guy like Joe Lozon would be suitable for Rosa. As for Aguilar, give him Devontae Smith. 2 prospects against each other coming off of losses. I think that would be good enough for me. And another good fight before that at 145, Andre Philly beats Charles Jourdain by split decision, 29-28, 29-28. And then one judge had it 29-28 for Jourdain. For Andre Philly, this fighter doesn't get the respect he deserves by the matchmakers. I think for Philly, he's on a bit of a winning streak now. Okay, he's not on a... Okay, he lost to Youssef. But he has won 3 of his last 4 fights. And then if you were to... He's won 5 out of his last 7, so that's... So Philly has actually been a much improved fighter since he first came to the UFC. I'll give him that. And I certainly think that Andre Philly could be getting a fighter near the rankings next. As for who should Andre Philly fight next, I think it will be somebody like right on the edge of the top 15. Will he ever fight for a title? I doubt it, but could he be a top 10 to top 15 gatekeeper? Why not? He's surprisingly 5-2 in his last 7 fights. So he does have a ceiling. You know what? I think maybe give him Ryan Hall next. Cub Swanson. I think have they? I wonder, has Philly ever fought Cub Swanson? No, he hasn't. And this might be the time to give Andre Philly Cub Swanson. I think Swanson and Philly, that could be a banger right there. As for Charles Jourdain, he is now 1-2 in the UFC. So for him, it's probably back to the drawing board. But I think he was just overmatched by a very underrated Andre Philly. As I said, Andre Philly is one of those fighters that I think is very underrated and deserves better fights. And I think Jourdain just went up against a buzzsaw. So I think for him, a step down is what's needed next for Jourdain. Give him somebody who's coming off a loss. Good. See who the fight matrix suggests should be the next fighter for Jourdain. Julio Arce. I think Julio Arce is probably the appropriate step down. Put those two prospects up against each other. And then at 135 in the fight before that, Jordan Espinoza beats Mark De La Rosa. As for Jordan Espinoza, this was a big win for Jordan Espinoza. He snaps a 2-fight losing streak. And if he had lost, he probably would have been in danger of being cut. So I think Espinoza certainly saves his job tonight. As for who's next for Jordan Espinoza, at 125, give him Raulian Paiva. I think that would be an appropriate next fight for Espinoza. As for Mark De La Rosa, that is 4 in a row, and 4 in a row usually means the pink slip. And I think for Mark De La Rosa, he's getting cut after this fight. Yeah, I think 4 in a row, that's going to probably get him cut from the UFC. So I think next for him is a pink slip. And in the first fight of the main card, Maria Agapova beats Hannah Cifers by submission rear naked choke in the first round. And for Cifers, that is 2 losses, I think, within 3 or 4 weeks. I don't know if she's going to keep her jaw. That's 3 in a row for Cyphers. I think for her, her next fight should be against Mizuki Inoue. As for Cyphers, let's see, is that her third or fourth loss? Let's see. I think that's her third loss in a row, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's 3 losses in a row. She is certainly in jeopardy of being cut. What I think could save her from being cut is taking fights on short notice. The fact that those 2 losses were in the past 3 weeks, I don't think she gets cut. I think she gets probably a debutante, another debutante next. But maybe she doesn't say get cut. I think this more as a demotion per se. Maybe she goes to Invicta and tries to get some wins in Invicta. That's what could be on the table for Cyphers. And then in the prelim card, first prelim card of the main prelim event, Merab Dvalishvili beats Gustavo Lopez, unanimous decision, 30-26, 30-26, 30-25. Lopez takes the fight on short notice. For him, I think a debutante is what is likely next for Gustavo Lopez. For Dvalishvili, his next fight should be against maybe somebody like Dvalishvili is climbing towards the top 15 in the bantamweight division. So maybe somebody who's in the top 15 or right on the edge of the top 15 is what should be next for Dvalishvili. Montel Jackson would be a name that I think would make a lot of sense for Dvalishvili. Jackson's another fighter that is right near the rankings. I think the winner of that fight would be in the top 15. Put those two together, see who gets a ranking out of those two. And then in the women's bantamweight division before that, at years where we had the string of first round knockouts, Julia Avila beats Gina Mazzani by TKO. Who's next for Julia Avila? She's surprisingly climbing herself up the ladder at 135. I think maybe for her, a fight against Macy Chiasson makes a lot of sense. Those two are very close to each other in the rankings. For Mazzani, give her a debutante. At catchweight, for that in the first round, Tyson Nam beats Zaruk Adashev in the first round in his UFC debut for Adashev. Another one who probably gets a debutante his next time out. Takes a fight on short notice. As for Tyson Nam, at 36, I don't think he'll be fighting for the title, but he might. But he is certainly a good gatekeeper at 135. Maybe goes back to 125. maybe David Dvorak would be what should be next for Tyson Nam. That, and then in the fight before that, Aguilera in the first fight of the night defeats Anthony Ivy by TKO. Ivy likely gets a debutante next. As for Aguilera, who should be next? Well, not a lot of fighters. Looks like Fight Matrix is giving me a little bit of a difficult time here trying to give me a pairing, a suitable pairing. I suppose you could give him the winner of Mickey Gall and Mike Perry. I'm going to put. Here's one that probably makes a bit more sense. Probably Eric Coach would. Eric Koch could be his next. Eric Koch could be his next. Eric Koch could be the next opponent for Christian Aguilera. Now on to a little bit of non-UFC news tonight. Major League Baseball Players Association has rejected the recent proposal by the MLB. Now the MLB Players Association will not counter, and now we'll listen to the terms of what Rob Manfred is going to impose for potentially a 50-game season. Now the real question on that is, will the owners be on board? And the players union is potentially going to file a grievance over this. So I'd say there is a real possibility we're going to have a canceled season if the owners decide to go against having a season. So that's to be watched in the coming days right there, if we have a season or not. I'm saying no at this point. I think the owners have really played hardball on this. I think the owners will let the players take this to arbitration since they want full salary payment, and the owners are really backing off, and I don't think there's going to be a season this year, or I don't see the owners opening up at this point. So we'll see what happens on that end, and we could even potentially see the CBA get terminated on that front. And then on another front, NBA news, you got Kyrie Irving, who's trying to get the season canceled because of the Black Lives Matters movement. Seems like that, though, is getting a lot of pushback, though, from other players who are ready to play. I am very supportive of the Black Lives Matter movement. They need to go out and vote this November. That is for sure. Because more importantly than Black Lives Member, forgive me, Black Lives Matter is Black votes matter the most. So I hope that this is an education for African Americans to go out and rock the vote in November. But I don't think canceling basketball for that movement's the right move. I would like to see the NBA allow the players to be able to kneel for the national anthem. That should be allowed. I think that's something Adam Silver could work out with the players. I think there will be an NBA season. Adam Silver is going to be flexible on this. And the NBA is always the trendsetter in social justice anyways. So there will be an NBA season. Those are the non-UFC developments going on. I hope everybody's having a good night. With cases spiking out there, please wear a mask when you're out there. Masks are the best way to get the transmission down, and it's a lot better than being locked down again. We'll see you next Saturday night for UFC Fight Night, Blades versus Volkov. This is the Iman Report. Iman out. Don't forget to check us out on Discord. Join the conversation on Discord as we get more of the chat going. And subscribers, I would love to. That will be our green room for post-fight, post-UFC. After the Iman Report, we'll go hang out in the green room on Discord. Good night.